might have a passion for taking what we are doing in our therapy sessions in our office and taking it out into the world.
Great thoughts are contagious.
Yep.
And openness is contagious.
When you start working on yourself, whatever that work is, you don't just start thriving. There's a process.
Welcome to Thrivist, where we share real stories, psychology, practical wisdom, and hope. We're here to inspire you with stories of overcoming and the lessons people learn along the way. We believe in humanity, and we know that we can all build resilience and thrive. Or at least low-key thrive at best. I'm Emily.
And I'm Adriana.
And we're two therapists, coaches, and friends here to inspire you with stories of overcoming.
And since this is our very first recording, Emily, I thought we would start out by talking about why a podcast, right? Why should we even do a podcast? There are so many out there, ones that you and I both love and respect and enjoy and have grown a lot from. But I thought I'd just start out by saying, why a podcast? And for me, the why is, as two therapists and coaches, we get to hear so many amazing stories from our clients, stories of overcoming, stories of real struggle and challenge. And you grow vicariously when you walk alongside other people who have struggled and strived and overcome.
Absolutely.
It is such an honor to hear all of these stories. And then we have a lot of friends, and we know people out there who have the same kind of stories. And so while we'll not be sharing client stories in this podcast, we will be interviewing guests who have been willing to share some of their stories of struggle. And so my hope in creating this podcast with you, Emily, is that we give folks that are listening the opportunity of personal growth and inspiration that we get as therapists by walking alongside others. The other piece of this is there's a lot of negativity in the world. There's a lot of difficult things happening in our world today. And sometimes it's really helpful for our mental health, for our relationships, for those of us running businesses, to hear positive stories, to hear how people turned difficult situations into triumphs. And we want to add positivity into the world without, sugarcoating, without getting around the gritty, sweaty parts of life. But that's what we want to put out into the world. And so that's my why. How about you, Emily? What's your why for joining me on this journey?
Well, how many times have you heard a story in your day or heard a perspective or even just a thought, and the energy of that thought took you to a whole new place, a whole new perspective in your day, and enlarged a much more spacious place to live from, and brought you what is contagious, which is also gratitude and joy and connection and healing and feeling. And so my why is being able to share more of what is contagious in the world, and be able to share that with the feelers, with the healers, with our friends, with those that are continually pursuing learning and healing and growing. And so it's a joy and a privilege, and thank you for the opportunity to join you in this.
Oh, absolutely. For those that don't know, Emily and I started working together maybe 6 years ago when she joined the practice that we both work at. And from the very beginning, we both talked about wanting to start a podcast. So this has been a little bee in our bonnets, as our grandparents used to say. It's an old phrase. It's really fun. But this has been kind of bugging us for the last 6 years. And, the timing's right. We feel like the timing's right now. So thanks for joining us on this journey. And now we get to talk about thriving and why we named the podcast Thrivist.
Yes, it is a unique word, isn't it? Thrivist. Oh, yes, and It's really all about the art and science of thriving. But this word, you really have the history with this word. And the dictionary defines actually thriving, I'm going to read this, as a state of optimal growth and high-level functioning that goes beyond merely surviving. So we've talked about this, and it almost felt like too much like a formula for you, the word thriving. And you almost didn't name our practice Learn to Thrive, but you came around on thriving, and now we're launching Thrivist. So tell us more how you came around on the word and really how you see this word differently.
Yeah, that is so true. I have a love-hate relationship with the word thrive. I really do. And I think that before becoming a therapist, I probably liked the word. But then when I started my work in this field, I just thought life is so hard. There are so many challenges. I had my own. I'm listening to my clients. And I just felt like thrive was plastic. I thought it was an overpromise. I thought it was just a bunch of self-help talk and really didn't like the word. Yet, when I was trying to decide what to name our practice, and I thought about what are the components of therapy? What are the components of growth? What are the components of coaching, right? Personal growth. You know, there's a learning aspect. And then from learning, you vicariously grow, right? You grow. And then there's also a deep healing component. Some people need to do some deep healing work from trauma. And then you thrive, right? And I was like, okay, those are the components. You can't just automatically start thriving. When you start working on yourself, whatever that work is, you don't just start thriving. There's a process. And I just couldn't get away from it. I named our practice Learn to Thrive because I really believed that if you put your mind to it and you learned and you were open to learning about yourself and others and whatever you were dealing with, that you would thrive. It would just be a natural byproduct. So that's my history with the word. I really wrestled with the word. And even the first few years of running the practice, I felt like our name was a little cheesy. I'm just being honest here. Learn
Way
to
to
thrive.
out us. Way to out yourself.
I'm
love
just
that.
being honest. But over the years, I have learned to fall in love with the word thriving because I view it completely differently than I did before. And so now I see thriving as resilience. Resilience. When we think, so many people use the metaphor of a tree, right? It's a really good metaphor, maybe overused, but a tree only gets stronger when it is pummeled with rain and wind and goes through the deep freeze of winter and goes through the blooms of spring and then losing its leaves in the fall. And sometimes we prune trees, and pruning is a painful for the tree, but it helps it grow. And so that metaphor is helpful to me. When I think about resilience, it does not come out of the easy things of life. Resilience comes from the struggle and from learning, and then we thrive. So for me, thriving and resilience are almost hand in hand. They're a little different, but for me, that's how I see thriving.
Another reason it's a great time to start the podcast, like you said, is all of the wonderful stories that we have listened to over the years. I'm practicing part-time now. You are still practicing full-time. And humanity is a lot more similar than different.
Yes.
Right? And there are some themes that we've developed that we see that allow all of us to overcome struggles,
Right.
to overcome hardships. And we're going to get into those and take a really deep dive on those, which is really exciting because when you listen for a long time and you get paid to be a listener with different levels, you observe some things.
Yeah.
So let's share those. And we all need a good listening to. The value of it through life is huge. So I love that. But what I've enjoyed, Adriana, is you're so authentic, and you've said to me, I really have built the practice that I wish I would have had maybe 10, 15 years ago when I was raising my family. So I'd love to hear that. And does that still resonate?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think it is poignant in a way, because I think that who I was before I was a therapist, like I said, I thought thriving was really like working really hard and truly over functioning. I thought thriving was don't let people see your weaknesses, and certainly don't ask for help. So I think when I was, a young mom of 3 boys with a traveling husband, before I went to grad school, and I had these 3 little boys in 4 years, and my husband was gone about every other week for three nights a week. And I thought that thriving was doing everything well and keeping my cool and having obedient children. And, anyone who has had 3 kids, but particularly very close together, knows that they are not angels all the time. You are not an angel all the time. You're tired. And there were times I was really overwhelmed. And I didn't want people to know I was overwhelmed. I thought that meant I was a failure. I thought that meant I was letting my husband down. I didn't even tell my husband many times when I was feeling really overwhelmed. And I think that in some ways I was shut down a little bit to my inner self, and I was really trying to perform to what the world wanted, which I thought was just being this amazing stay-at-home mom. So there were some times where I was at a breaking point. And really too prideful to say, I might need a therapist or at least a parent coach. I need something. But that word I need felt I'm weak to me.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's where I when I did go back to school and became a therapist, I thought I want to build a practice that I would have gone to when I was this young mom overwhelmed, that would have felt welcoming, would have normalized my experience, would have maybe even made it look like, therapy is like, it's just growth. It's what we all do. It's what we all can do. And so a big component of our practice is parent coaching. I would say that as a practice, we treat a lot of things. We've got a great team of 11 clinicians, but a big component of our work with children is really empowering parents and doing coaching sessions with parents. And that, I think, is out of my heart for wanting to support parents and normalize the experience of getting some help and support.
Yes, and a safe place to exhale, to be objective. I am a parent as well, and it's so wonderful when we take the mask off, right, as parents, and we can say, wow, that didn't work, or guess what happened? I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that. And being able to, again, find that we can start again. We can learn. We're not alone in it. It can be very isolating. And we need each other all the time, but particularly when we're at home with littles, for sure.
Right.
And in the child rearing years, it helps so much to just have that support and a safe place. So I love our parent coaching. And I try to be friends with Hannah and the other parent coaches just to see what tips I can get.
Free tips.
Just walk to the parking lot. Just hey, here's what I'm doing this weekend. What do you think? We celebrated as a practice almost over 10 years now of the practice growing. And so that's a long time to be an entrepreneur, to be able to grow a vision, to bring on a team, to start training some other new clinicians as well. So you've persevered through a lot. Talk about resilience. And I'm just curious, one of the big lessons learned along the way at this point.
We've been in business now 11 years, and I would say that pre-COVID, I had a vision for what I wanted to see, and, it wasn't happening as fast as I wanted it. And so I think sometimes I functioned in those early years under pressure that I was putting on myself. No one else was putting this pressure on me. I was putting it on myself. And
that's interesting. I want to ask about that, but keep going. Yes.
And this might be a theme over the podcast. But, I think that one of the big lessons I learned was to let go of the outcome, which is a hint at one of our pillars of thriving, but it really to enjoy the process. Mm-hmm. Right? To stop putting pressure on myself. I think those of us who are more visionaries, entrepreneurs, we see what we want and we can see it so clearly. And sometimes we can let that block us from really enjoying the road there. And the road there might be short for some people, just explode into seeing their dream come to life, and other people it's a slow slog. But for us, we got stalled with COVID for some of the initiatives I wanted to see. And it was really through COVID and some personal growth work that I had to do on myself during that time where everything shifted for me. Oh. And I decided to let go, not of the dream or the vision, but to let go of the outcome. And if it happened, great. And if not, we've built a really strong practice and we're doing good in the world. And I've grown a lot. So I think that probably letting go of the outcome and enjoy the process has been a big lesson over the 11 years. And I think the second one is you cannot do it alone. Mm-hmm. Whether it's parenting, you can't do that alone, or building a business, you can't do that alone. So having a really amazing team where I delegate a lot of stuff to people, and having an amazing husband who is also a businessman, and saying to him, hon, I need your help. Can you advise me on this? Can you help with this? So asking for help, knowing what I'm good at, knowing what I'm not, and knowing that you can't do it alone. Mm-hmm. So I think those are two things that are coming up for me now. I'm sure there's more.
Yes, those are huge though. It takes a long time to unlearn how to be like a self-sufficient, high-achieving person.
Yes.
It takes a long time. We're still unlearning some things in life. A serious but kind of comical learning that is happening right now for me, Adriana, in real time.
Okay.
So at our holiday party, as a team, we gathered. We had delicious flavors. It was served family style. Such a neat night. And we always kick off the holiday season together, which is really cool how that's set up. And there were some awards that were being given away, and they were comical and funny. Okay. But I think I happened to get maybe one of the first or second awards. Right. And so I got called up front, and I was named the dishwashing diva for the practice.
Right. I remember.
Okay. So I'm still sitting back in my seat, right? So it's like a good therapist, I listened to my body at that moment.
And what was your body telling you?
My body got warm. And it was like, what? What's going on here? Wait a minute. So I value service, yes. And why am I the dishwashing diva that's always like fixing or moving dishes or cleaning up for others? So it was like an awareness of, wait a minute, like this is a kind thing. And maybe I'm going a little far. We need to course correct them.
Right.
And my Enneagram, which we're going to take a deep dive on Enneagram in this podcast, because we both use that with clients, and it's a great tool, and you have some advanced training in that. But my Enneagram plays into that sometimes, and being a mom plays into that. And the truest thing that plays into that sometimes is because I am able to be part-time at the practice, when I do come in, it's like, oh, I want to make sure I'm pulling my weight. I want to make sure I'm doing enough.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? We have a master's degree and you're the dishwashing diva? Wait a minute. So I'm course correcting this year, and I'm happy to be helping, but catching myself when I'm over functioning a bit and out of a place that is more healthy. So yay for that. That's all we can do.
Yes.
Course correct.
Well, thank you for sharing something that you're learning in real time. I know that your colleagues that gave you that certificate or the award were trying to recognize that you serve when no one else is looking, that there's always somebody that's unloading and loading the dishwasher, that if you weren't doing it kind of in the background, we would probably be overrun with dishes. And so I think they were trying to acknowledge your service. And I think it's so interesting how good of you to listen to yourself, that for you, that actually was a blow in some way, that your body told you that was a blow, and you listened to that and you're like, why am I bothered that they're trying to acknowledge something in a funny way? Right? And it sounds like you were bothered because you're saying, wow, I'm really over functioning, trying to earn my value as a part-timer here, and I'm trying to show that I have some value here. And now I'm being known by that rather than my clinical skills or my communication skills or all the writing that I've been doing for the practice. So
boom,
way
mic
to
drop.
go.
There you go.
Way
you
to
know,
go.
so in planning and talking about our why behind this podcast, Adriana, we've also really spent time defining the 10 pillars of thriving.
Right.
So share with us what does that mean, the 10 pillars of thriving?
Yeah. And we do not, I love that we want to give you something that you can take with you. We really want this podcast to be inspiring, like we said, but also practical in the sense that you're going to learn something that we talk with and educate and help our clients with, and be able to start using it yourself. And so we came up with 10 pillars of thriving, and it will be interesting if we continue to do this podcast for years, how those might morph. You know, I love it when experts out there come out with some big theory or some, 5 steps to do whatever. And then after a few years go, there's new research out. And I've had new experiences. And so I'm going to add 2, or I'm going to take away that one. And so I just want everyone to understand, we are not saying these are the only 10 pillars for thriving. We are saying these are the ones that we're starting out with that we think are foundational, that we work with clients, whether it's therapy or coaching or teaching classes. We teach these concepts, and we think that they are key in personal growth, in relationships, and in healing. So, but don't be surprised if we get some major expert on here and we add one or take one away. So I'm just saying that. The other thing about these pillars is that we want this podcast to be of benefit to you. And because I was someone who did not go to therapy probably when I should have, did not reach out to a parent coach probably when I should have, I have a passion for taking what we are doing in our therapy sessions in our office and taking it out into the world. And I know a lot of other people are doing that. But that is a mission for me, to take these concepts that I wish I would have known and share them out there for free of no charge. Because I know there are some of you out there, and you may be listening even today, that you still have so much shame that you will not walk through the doors of our offices. I know you're out there because that was me.
Yes.
And so if I can help, if we can help, if our guests can help one person who will use what they've learned from a podcast, even if they never come through our doors, that will bring me so much joy and be very fulfilling to know that person's out there. So we're not going to share those today, but Emily and I did come up with these together. We've written a lot of this content together, and we're really excited to share these 10 pillars of thriving. We'll do deep dives on them. And then when each guest comes, we're going to pull out from their story what the pillars of thriving that they use. They might not even know what these pillars are. But when they share their story, we hope to show that, look, they did number 3, 5, and 10. And you can too. So
I love that. Yeah. We're also every episode going to be talking about a Thrivist thought. So a Thrivist thought happens when we're just living every day, and all of a sudden we're listening and we have an aha. It's like, wait a minute, I understand you more. I understand me more. Or now I'm curious about this and I have a little inkling. And so we're going to be sharing that in live time, just as we listen to one another, as we listen to our guests. And offering that up because, again, we know that great thoughts are contagious.
Yep.
And openness is contagious. And Thrivist thoughts will be contagious. So we're looking forward to that. But for now, unless you have a Thrivist thought already.
Well, no, my Thrivist thought
Yes.
is that as soon as you said that, I want to encourage anyone who's listening to this podcast that after listening to one of the episodes that you would share your Thrivist thought with us, that you would put that in the comments, because we want to know what you're gaining from this. We want to know what inspires you from what we've said. And we also know everyone's unique. And one person might really be moved by one thing.
Yes.
And another person may be moved by another thing. And so I would say, please share your Thrivist thoughts with us. And if you know of a guest, or if you yourself have walked through a large challenge that you're willing to share, please reach out to us as well.
Yes, absolutely. We're looking forward to just creating a safe space that we can continue to learn together, and that maybe some of you will come on and share your stories more with us. We would love it. So, well, for now, say we're wrapping up episode 1.
Cheers.
We did it. Cheers.
Episode 1.
Thanks for joining us at Thrivist, where talk transforms and builds resilience in an unpredictable world.